Hello, everybody. I'm Yu-Gi-Oh! Deckmaster, aka Jason Lee. I wanted to bring to you my Fortworth, Texas regional report. Me and three of the friends went up there, and I was playing Labyrinth, or more or less a Lady of the Labyrinth kind of control build, where you focus on summoning her, similar to how the OCG has her built. This is kind of the report of how I did. I should state that sadly, due to transportation reasons, I had to drop right before round 8 because the people I was with were ready to go home. To explain why is I live in Moore, Oklahoma. They live in Lawton. Two of them did anyway. And it was literally a 4-hour ride to pick everyone up, come get me, which I was a little out of the way, and get up there. And then we stood in line for 2 hours, and then you had 7 hours of the event, and it was getting late, and we all wanted to go home the same day. So for transportation reasons, I really didn't have a choice. I had to drop out at the start of round 8 because I wasn't the one driving, and you refused, and I guess I'd be living in Fort Worth. So, not my choice. Hopefully in the next one will be a Tulsa regional. We can stay for the full 9, 10 rounds or whatever it is. So, my win-loss record for what I got to play, I feel was pretty good, knowing the fact that Labyrinth doesn't have all its utensils yet. That comes out in the next set in Photon Hypernova. We'll get weight measurement and Big Welcome Labyrinth, which will make a big improvement to the deck. So for what I had available, I feel I did pretty well. I have a 3-win, 2-draw, 2-loss record. One of the losses, I'll admit, was just me misplaying a whole bunch. It was round 6. I'll go into it, but I was really tired by that point in time. I needed some caffeine, and they're charging $5 for soda there, so it was kind of tricky to do. But eventually, before round 7, I did get some and did round 7 a lot better. And then one of the draws, literally 5 seconds more on the clock, I would have had game. But time rolls. Whether you like them or hate them, you're stuck with them. So, let me take a drink and we'll get started. First duel of the night was round 1 against Sword Soul. It was my opponent's first regional. This will be my second. Game 1, he ended up going second. I went first. I set up a pretty good board and prevented him with dimensional barriers and overroot and basically any kind of removal. I wasn't allowing him to get any of his tokens out or synchro summon, and I kind of just kept building advantage through Lady, and I just wasn't letting him get ahead. Game 2, he bricked going first. He opened up Shathana. I didn't see his whole hand, but I know he opened up the only monsters with Shathana, the Water Tingy, and the Wind Soul Sword. Sorry, I do not remember the names, but the one that you have to banish from the grave. And he could have linked off into Monk and did that. I don't know why he didn't. Going first instead, I think maybe he had a little stage fright or something. He ended up going into Abyss Dweller. And yeah, he had water underneath it, so it was 2200, but Abyss Dweller ain't going to do anything against me. And I think he set a few spell and traps. I think one was an Imperm or something. But Lady can't be targeted as long as there's set cards on the field. And I kind of was just able to set my back row. I believe I played the filled spell, summoned out Lady, and then with the 3 back row I had, I kind of just was able to keep snowballing an advantage and 2-0'd pretty easily. go for a short intermission. Then we move on to round 2, which was Sprite. This is actually my first major Sprite play since, definitely my first Sprite at a regional or a big event. At locals, I've probably played against some of the earlier builds of Sprite, but I have not played against, like, the more refined builds we see now. Downfall with the way Labyrinth is right now was very apparent in this matchup. I saw no monsters, Welcome Labyrinth, or any of the ways to get to it like Pot of Prosperity. And yeah, I had traps and I was having to use them to stop making advantages, but the problem was traps only do so much if you don't have a way of recurring advantage due to Lady's Effect or Trap Trick or things like that. And I just they were snowballing a lot more than I could keep up with. I didn't want to waste too much time once I got low on resources, so I went ahead and scooped up for game 2. Because once you get too low on resources, building back up is really hard to do, especially if you're low and they have a lot of them. So that's sort of the downfall of all trap decks. And sadly, right now with Labyrinth, the OCG builds and my build, which I will be doing a new build profile once the cards come in, with a Labyrinth mat and a new Labyrinth Field Center made. And I'll show that off. The downfall is without Big Welcome Labyrinth, we don't have access due to the lower monster count we run. Of always seeing labyrinths right now. Big Welcome will help with this. You don't really want to right now run things like Stovey or Chandra because they are an egg 1, and chances are you're first of all you're losing advantage to play them, and then second of all, chances are they're going to get bestialed or prevented from coming back in some way, and that's just you're basically negging yourself to play those. So you really rely on like Ariadne and Welcome Labyrinth, and then eventually Big Welcome Labyrinth, or drawing into Lady straight up. If you can get into any of that, you're good to go. But right now, with only 9 ways, sometimes this is going to happen. So we go into game 2, and I open up perfect. I open up Lady, the Filled Spell, and 3 Spell and Traps. Or it was Metaverse and 3 other Spell and Traps. I can't remember which exactly. This was a few days ago, and it was a very exhausting day. But I opened up really well, had Lady on the field. Normally, as not a big issue. I'm able to counter most stuff, but my opponent just opened Godly. Second it goes to their turn, they Harpy's Feather Duster first. I'm able to chain Dimensional Barrier, Calling Exceeds, and then chain Lady's Effect to set Boo Boo Game, which when Boo Boo Game's destroyed, she set the other 2 traps from my grave to my field. I don't remember what they were off the top of my head. I think one was a Compulse and the other might have been a Dogmatica Punishment. But don't hold me to that. And then there was either a Metaverse or the Field Spell. Either way, I set those back. Usually I'm pretty good from that point, but then my opponent followed up with a Lightning Storm, going after the other back row, and then followed it up with a Regeki, of all things. Not something you commonly see cited in Labyrinth, or Sprite, might I add, or at least I haven't. And then they were able to combo off with the last 2 or 3 cards in their hand. Sometimes your opponent just has it. Once your board's completely broke, all your monsters, basically if you're top decking in this, you're going to lose. You got to have a monster in a trap and keep regaining advantages to eventually be able to snowball. And top decking in a trap deck, you're already way too far behind. So it was what it was. I will admit that kind of set me back a little, but okay, hey, you're not going to win every match. You go forward and you keep continuing. So we go to round 3. I face a 60 card Dark Magician deck, and I don't mean like 60 card with a Dark Magician engine. I mean 60 card Dark Magician deck. Main focus is Dark Magician stuff. That kind of blew me away a little bit. They ended up going first, and because I wasn't running a lot of non-targeting destruction ways, I wasn't prepared for this, though the new build will be. They ended up doing some stuff, got Eternal Souls out, got Dark Magician on the field, and then searched out the Dark Magician Fusion spell, the quick play spell that can either Ritual Summon or Fusion Summon with Dark Magician. And right on my standby phase, they flipped it up and used a Bastille in their hand, and that to go into Dragoon. And I tried to outplay Dragoon, but it ended up obviously negating a card, gaining 1,000 attack, and at 4,000, I had no way of getting over it. It's not something you see very often. Dragoon really isn't played that much anymore. But I have looked into better options to handle something like that should it come up again. But yeah, that threw me off. There was not much I could do. So after running out of resources, I ended up scooping up, going to game 2. Game 2, I set up. I did not let him fuse. D-Barrier was my friend because I was pretty much playing it, and then on my turn playing a trap and setting another D-Barrier from deck with Lady. And I just was not letting him fuse. I didn't care what else he did. It was just Dragoons that was the problem, and my deck easily beat down the Dark Magician engine itself. The only problem was Dragoon. Game 3, he went first. Ended up summoning Dragoon with 3 minutes on the clock and setting some back row. I think he did a few other plays, like some Magician Soul plays. Did some draw effects for Soul Servant and stuff like that. And by the time it got to me, there was a minute left on the clock. I played, I want to say I played Ariadne. No, it wasn't Ariadne. It was the field spell. I played the field spell. He didn't choose to negate it. I set 4 back row, and I passed. Come my opponent's turn, time of the round gets called in his main phase. And I activated Welcome Labyrinth, assuming, because I had 2 set, I assumed he would negate it with Dragoons. I mean, you would think he would. He didn't. So I ended up getting Lady on the field with 3 back row set, 1 being another Welcome Labyrinth, which I couldn't even use, and him stuck in main phase 1. Not able to go to the battle phase, and therefore could not deal me any damage, because Dragoon's burn would have worked, because he did use Dark Magician. He would only have been able to pop and burn 1, but still. So there was no way for him to do damage, or me, or him to gain life points, or me, and we ended up shaking and calling it game. Going forward, there are fixes I did to help counter Dragoons or Dragoon-like monsters, such as maybe a Mirror Match with Lady, the BLS Link, or other similar threats. We go into round 4, which was Branded Despia Bastille. I went first and was pretty much able to stop. I love it when you open D-Barrier, which I actually did quite a bit. And I was able to stop him from fusing and branded decks really can't do much if you stop them from fusing. So that was pretty easy to do, and I was cool with that. Game 2, weirdest freaking thing occurred. After sighting, he chose for me to go first, which technically, I guess he did go first, honestly, but, I mean, he basically set one and passed, and that was it. So I mean, for the most part, he chose for me to go first. In that sense, that he just didn't even do anything, and I know that he had the cards to go off because he activated several spells beforehand. Like he activated branded opening, discarding a edge imp chain, and he added a Luber to hand. He searched out Fright for Fusion because he was playing that engine, and then he just sent one and passed. He had ways to go into his plays, but he didn't, which was kind of weird. I didn't open up any board breakers, but, one back row, you wouldn't really think of it. So I ended up, as I always do, and I guess in this situation it bit me in the ass, I set my 4 back row, summoned Ariadne. Searched, set Welcome. I think I had 1 card in hand, which was a Bestial. I attacked, did 16, and I go to end turn. He says, nah, into battle phase. I'm sorry, what? Into battle phase, flip up evenly. What? I don't even know how to come back from that. I didn't even know what to say to that. I mean, he could have just let me go first, build a board, go to his battle phase. That makes sense. But no. He set evenly. He set it and waited for me to commit. I mean, that's some next level shit right there. That was like 200 IQ or some shit. I mean, I lost everything. I think I ended up keeping 1 Welcome Labyrinth, which I had set off of the Ariadne, and the Bestial, which I think was Druis Worm in hand. And I tried to go back and forth for a while, but he started going off with all his fusion plays, and there was just no way what I had was going to, do much. Evenly is a hard counter for this deck. Sadly, they don't have a normal trap that, can prevent it. That I know of. If you got any ideas for that, comment down below. So we go to game 3. I decide to let them go first. This time, and the reason why I do that is because we're low on time, and we're low on time. Plain up. They go first. They can't go to their battle phase. I go first. Maybe I can do something. I don't really got any burn cards outside of the lava golems in my side, so I'm hoping that they make a big enough board. I lava golem. I can deal burn. That's the mindset I got going in, because we only got 5 minutes on the clock. By the time we're done sighting, there's 3 to 4 minutes left. We're not, with as much as this player could combo off that I saw, that's going to take up a good chunk of the time. So my goal was to either hopefully draw into Lava Golem and burn them, or find some way to do damage, because otherwise I wasn't doing anything. So they go first. They make a pretty big board. I believe the Predaplant, Dracostapelia, the Mirror Jade. They had Mirror Jade. They had Banishment on the field. I think they set some other back row, and they had an Aluber on the field. And they didn't use Mirror Jade's effect end phase like you would normally expect them to. Comes to me, I set some back row. I know this way they cannot evenly me. They have too much shit on the field now. Set some back row, Pot of Prosperity for 6. I was digging for this son of a bitch. Got Lava Golem, tributed over their 2 monsters. I'm guessing they didn't read Lava Golem, or they didn't know what it did, because they banishment, Brockbat Mirror Jade, banished the Aluber that was on their field to set Branded Fusion from deck, or at least that's what they ended up doing at the end of the turn. But they left Lava Golem on the field in defense mode. They do all this. Finally, my turns ended, because they do this all during the end phase. Goes draw phase, time gets called. During the freaking draw phase. Literally, 5 more seconds to go. Draw phase, standby phase, Lava Golem burns. It all gets called in draw phase. And neither of us had a way of doing damage in draw phase. None of us had like a quick play burn spell or anything. He did have some options to gain life points. I don't know exactly what they were, but due to Branded Fusion, he had a way of gaining life points. But, or at least that's what he told me. But he would have had to made it to main phase for that, and he would have taken 1,000. So I don't know. So yet again, ended up being a draw. That one, I mean, that's just to the crappy time ruling on that one, honestly. I could have easily have won that one. But this 40-minute, they need to really up it to like 45, maybe 50 minutes per round. Anyway, you can't bitch about it. It is what it is. So we go to round 5. My opponent's a no-show. I get an automatic win. I get to go have some extra lunch and try to charge my phone, because the Neuron app, with everything else on my phone, drains that some bitch down pretty quickly. Finally, we get to round 6. I face Runic Naturia. Is Sizu card, deck, bundle, crap. I don't really remember a lot of what happened in this matchup, because I was so tired. I had taken some pain pills after I ate, and I was kind of groggy from it. I should have spent the $5 to get a freaking soda, which is freaking robbery in my opinion for a bottle soda to be $5, but I didn't at the time, and I was kind of out of it. I mean, long trip. I got up at 2 a.m. in the morning, walked a mile so that I could meet my ride at an easier, convenient spot for them to pick me up, then rode in the car for 4 hours up there, stood in line for 2 hours, all doing this on like 3 hours sleep, because I have a hard time sleeping at night. So I was pretty wore out, and the pain medicine for my sciatica, it started kind of making me a little loopy. I needed caffeine or something. But I didn't see any monsters until many turns later, and when I finally got to the spot I could, I had summoned Magna Hut on the end of their turn. They negated it with Chalice. Or either it was Chalice, or if there's a negate runic card. I'm not sure. I don't remember all the runic spells, but whatever it was, it negated my effect, and it was a quick play spell. So I didn't get the search. For my turn, I drew Eradicator Epidemic Virus. I mean, God, when. Set it, and my opponent flips up, I think it's called Runic Destruction, their MST, and he rolls a dice. He doesn't just go straight after the 1. He rolls a die. I have 4 back row. He counts it out. It lands on the 1 I just set. Pops it. And come their next turn, they get into the Natari engine and is kind of able just to synchro pop cards. Yeah, they weren't doing any battle, but I was banishing so much of my deck that I just had no way to come back. And so, well, couldn't do much, so I ended up going and scooping up about halfway through. I think there was like 18 minutes left on the clock. I go first. I set 5 and pass. Now, normally, when I set Welcome Labyrinth during the standby phase of the next turn, standby phase or drop phase, I'll flip it up. Even if I have the field spell up, I'll choose not to pop. I'll flip it up to get Lady on the field. That way, if they activate something that would destroy my back row, I can chain one of my usual chainable traps to set Boo Boo Game. This prevents my board from being completely annihilated and allows me to play. Again, half out of it. I do not do that. It goes to their main phase. They flip up Lightning Storm. I totally forgot to summon her out during the standby phase, and I had no way to protect my back row. It was completely destroyed, and with just Lady on the field, they were able to get her off the field with no protection and kind of just go off, and I'm left top decking, and there's no coming back at a top decking pace, especially against this one where they're banishing all your cards. That's one of the things I hate about Tier, is they mill your deck. They don't do it as much now, but that and Runic, going after your deck, is so fucking annoying. Mill your own, banish your own, whatever, just leave my deck alone. So I was not happy. I was pissed. I misplayed and it cost me. I went and got a soda right after, caffeinated up. Still, I had about 15 minutes to go do everything, go to the restroom, charge my phone a little more. Round 7 comes. It's Tier Sprite, which is interesting. I've not seen this combination before, but it was okay, let's do it. Game 1, they went first, and they pretty much tackled mostly the Tier Element stuff. And, they went off. There was like 3 or 4 fusions on the field, Grime, some of the other spell and traps, and just like with my hand, there was no breaking that board. So, to not waste too much time on a game I know I couldn't win, I scooped up and went to Game 2. Game 2, I went first, obviously. I prevented them from getting into any of their fusions. At the time, I was running DDG, which is great when going first, sucks going second. So I'm ending up cutting that, but it was really good in that situation. And then some of the following turns, Dimensional Barrier, things like that. And it pretty much locked them into only being able to go into the Sprite engine, and I was using my other traps to make it so they wouldn't have more than one level 1 on the field at a time. Or a level 2 on the field at a time. So when we got down to about 3 minutes left on the clock, they scooped up, sighted real quickly, and went into Game 3. And he kind of bricked. He opened up Tier Element Scream, the trap that lets you send a Tier Element and negate. The it might have been Grime. It wasn't the field spell, though. I don't remember what that one was. There was one other Tier Element card, and then there were Smashers and Starter. He opened up all spell and traps. He showed me his hand after time got called. 2 minutes on the clock. He couldn't do much of anything. He ended up playing Starter, summoning out, I think it's Blue that searches the monster, and then special summoning that, and then he went for Gigantic Sprite. When he activated Gigantic Sprite, I activated Infinite Impermanence from my hand, which was a last minute change. I took out Solemn Strike for Infinite Impermanence. So glad I did. That card was awesome this whole event. Besides the Pistiles, it's my other form of interruption when going second. I negated his card, and there was maybe 45 seconds left on the clock. He couldn't do anything else for the turn. And he's already down 1,100 points because of 1,100, 1,200, whatever Blue's stats are from the starter. So we shook hands, called it a game. And then my ride said, hey, we got to go. We're tired. We don't want to be driving when we're half out of it. I tried to convince them. They weren't budging. So I ended up dropping right before the 8th round with a record of 3 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. That's my regional report. Let me know what you think down below. And take care of your loved ones and your fur babies. And until next time, peace out. Rock on.